This one here, it ended up selling for 60,000. You can see that it was built in 1958. It's obviously had a rehab since then. They're assessing it at 158,000. It's also on a big lot. It has 10 acres.
Also has some acreage. When we're looking at a property like this, we can tell from the images that it's been more cared for. It has a new roof on it. It has, looks like the windows are new. It has that attached garage here. All of that stuff looks like it's functional and new. And I think if we were digging more into the pictures, we could even see that it wasn't that long ago here the property was occupied. If it's not occupied now, I don't know.
Yeah, in
Uh,
fact, this is one that we talked to our coaching students about, because one thing that was interesting is you can see that they've got a little piece of deeded property over here next to the lake, because this is across from the lake, and so that allows them to have a boat dock or anything that they want. And this lot was probably done a long time ago, where it also gave them access to be able to get water, or use it in that section as well. So you've got a big 10-acre piece here, with an addition to being accessed on the water. And then, like Shade said, you can see that it's been upgraded, new roof, new siding, new windows. It's definitely had some type of major rehab within probably the last 10 years.
Yeah, which that's going to limit how much work is going to need to go into the property, in order to make it nice and usable. So, that would justify paying a little bit higher percentage for it, but they still picked it up at a pretty good price. I mean, at 60%, sorry, $60,000, they are into this property, less than a third. So they paid about 30% of value. I'm kind of guessing here, but it basically still leaves over $100,000 in potential profit that they could make on this property, if they were to turn around and sell it.
Well, and one thing that's interesting is a lot of this land has been was currently farmed, which means that, you may be able to automatically buy it and have a good portion of this bring in residual income, as well through farming. You can see how they did quite a bit of it. You could probably even move some of this stuff and have them kind of farm this whole area here. And that may be, I don't know how much that would bring in an extra year. I don't know enough about that, but what could be $5,000, maybe more, maybe less. I'm not quite sure, but that could be an additional income source, because it's obvious that they were currently farming it right now.
Yeah, well, and the one thing that it could do is it could cover something like property taxes, for the year. So rather than that coming out of your pocket, it's basically, could being covered by somebody that's working the land. That's something you could potentially do. And anytime you have acreage like that, there's that potential there for use and the ability to lease it out or rent it out there to somebody. Especially, yeah, anytime like if we see that the property is active farmland, then there's an active use or a use for it. That's kind of the main thing that we're looking for, is to see if the property has a specific use, that can be monetized. And with farmland, it's pretty clear and easy for us to see.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Here's kind of breaking down the numbers. Uh, they ended up paying 60,000, valued at 195. So they've got about $135,000 in equity or so. It rents out for almost $1,900 a month, which would come out to 22,800. So in about little over 2.5 years, this property would pay for itself, and that doesn't include, let's say that you can bring in an extra, uh, you know, an extra 3 or 4 grand a year in income from the farmland. That could even increase it to where it pays it off within 2 years.
Yeah, I think these types of deals are remarkable just because you're not paying very much for these properties that have tremendous income potential. And a lot of these properties also look like they're pretty close to being ready to use right now. Like most of the properties we've looked at look like they, could be used right now. Like, I wouldn't think that there's too much going on because I think most of these properties have been occupied fairly recently.